I am Joey Draper, student reporter for D11 Sports, and I'm joined by Emmaus Athletic Director Mrs. George. Mrs. George, thanks for taking the time to meet with me today.
Hey, Joey. I was thrilled to do it, and it's so good to see you, man.
You
It's so
too.
good
I
to see you.
miss seeing you throughout the building because I usually see you on a
I
daily
know.
basis, and I haven't seen you since March. So,
Yeah, you are a frequent flyer to the athletic office, so yeah,
yeah.
everybody there misses you.
No, I miss them too, Mr. Spangler and everyone else up there.
Yeah.
So my first question today is, the fall sports season is coming up, and there's still debates between the PIAA and the governor on if we're going to have one. But if we do get to have a fall sports season, or even the whole school year of fall sports and winter and spring sports, what are some things you're looking forward to seeing from the sports teams at Emmaus?
Gosh, I just want to see the athletes. I want to see the coaches. I want to be able to have interaction with those individuals. I'd like to see our training staff, more one-on-one, and I'd like to see the athletic office staff back together in full tack again. Those are the things that I'm missing, and really looking forward to seeing play on the field and all those sorts of things. It's interesting to see how. What I looked forward to last year and what I look forward to this year are just night and day. I will say, though, we have the turf field that is currently being put in place right now, and I'm certainly going to look forward to that finished product once it's complete. It's really come a long way in the last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, I've stopped by the turf field every week to upload a picture on Twitter, and I remember on June 28th it was a pile of dirt, and then the next week it was turf, and now we've got the logos and the letters on it, so it's really come together really well.
Yeah, it is coming together real nice. I know some other fellow athletic directors who are going through similar projects have stopped over, and we've been able to compare notes and those sorts of things. It's really going to be a facility of a lot of pride and those sorts of things, and the dirt just moved to another area, and because we were able to do that, it's going to enhance the that area once everything's leveled out and we're able to put that part of it back together as well. It's going to be real nice.
It's good to hear. Good to hear. So football being one of the main sports everyone focuses on in the fall, it's one of the bigger sports. It draws everybody out on Friday nights. Now that the football practices have started and we're getting closer to the season, we're just 2 weeks from yesterday is the start of heat acclimation week. How can the health and safety plan that the athletic department sent to the board a few weeks ago keep everyone safe at practice? How can the coaches help keep everyone safe so that way we can eventually get to our games?
Well, we need to just continue to follow the plan. And we do the health screening and safety checks on a regular basis. That will continue, and those sorts of things. Sorry about that, Joey. I have my daughter here who I asked to not interrupt this interview, and so just bear with me for a minute.
That's okay.
So to keep the kids safe, we just need to continue following the plan. We are taking it week by week at this stage of the game. A couple of our teams have moved into phase 3, and if things continue in the way in the direction it has been going, and we continue to monitor, and cases that do pop up, and what I mean by a case, I don't mean a COVID case, but possibly indirect interaction or those sorts of things that pop up in various households. The way we track it, the way we monitor it, our training staff has done a fabulous job of communicating and keeping track of those situations. And as long as we continue to do that, we can continue to remain safe. And the coaches have been extremely diligent in following the plan and not sidestepping. And, I think kudos to all of them, because they've all taken it extremely seriously. And, I couldn't have asked for anything better in that regard. So again, we just take it 1 week at a time, one phase at a time, and we'll continue down the successful path, hopefully into competition in the future.
What goes into the different phases? Because I looked over the health and safety plan when it first came out a few weeks ago, but for anyone who didn't get to look it over, what are the different phases and what's kind of involved with them?
Well, I could sit here in this interview and it would take about an hour and 15 minutes to go through every detail with you. So I'm not going to do that. I'll just give you the nuts and bolts of it. It's basically phasing it in, taking it slow. So in the very beginning, phase 1, everyone was grouped into pods, small pods, and then which stayed with one coach throughout that entire phase. And then, you remained away from each other, did not partake in using any equipment and those sorts of things. And then, phase 2, you start implementing those, and we have disinfectant and, all those procedures that, you didn't have to worry about in phase 1, but then you'll worry about it in phase 2 and phase 3 and those sorts of things. So as long as everyone's following the plan, the educational piece is huge too. I do want to mention that everybody involved had to be educated about the plan, and that includes the administrative staff, the trainers, the coaches, all the head coaches, the assistant coaches at every level. And then that trickled down to all the student athletes and their parents as well. So I have found that piece of it to be critically important, because they know when they need to report something in, and our student athletes have done an outstanding job. So in addition to giving kudos to our coaches, I'd like to give kudos to our student athletes and the parents for taking it serious as well, and keeping the health and safety of everybody involved in mind.
It's good to see that everyone's on the same page here, because I know when we're at the football games, I know something that our coach Fairclough always says is togetherness and everything. And it seems like with this plan as well, everything's together. The coaches have to be on the same page as the athletes have to be on the same pages as the coaches, and et cetera. So it's good to see that everyone's able to, stick together. And hopefully if we continue to stick together, we'll get through it and be able to get into the competitions, like you said.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, that's the plan. We can only control what we can control. As you can see, throughout the country, there's professional sports teams that have started up and are now running into canceling games already. So we're mindful of that and keeping a watchful eye on that. I'm sure the PIAA is considering those factors as well. So it'll be interesting. I'll go back to your first question. What do I look forward to? I just want to see these kids be active and play. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I want to see everyone play too. I miss uploading my highlights on Twitter. Miss it like crazy. We're still getting used to these uncertain times. And like you just said, you've actually cut into this question. And put this one, I wrote that some games are getting canceled and sports are resuming just without fans. What are your thoughts that if the PIAA approves a season but without fans, what would your thoughts be on that versus, canceling the season and waiting until we could have all the fans present at the stadium site? So what are your thoughts on those two options?
Well, I think first and foremost, I would love to just have it be quote unquote normal, as people would say. But, obviously that's not the set of cards that we've been dealt. Mm-hmm. And right now, top priority is to get the athletes to play. There are some rules and regulations for indoor facilities versus outdoor facilities and a number of gatherings, 25 versus 250. So even with the outdoor gathering, you can do the math. You have 2 football teams, officials, workers, essential game workers, those sorts of things. You add it up, there's not too much room left for fans to be in the facility. I know I ran into an individual throughout the community, and it's a parent of a current player. Leave the name unmentioned. And one of the things that individual said to me from the parent perspective was they just want to see their child play. And I can understand that. I'm empathetic to that. I have 2 girls, and of course, if they're in a game, I would want to see them play as well. Yeah. So we understand that. It's just that we might not have control over that. So right now, we're allowed 250, and that's the plan, that we will work around those numbers and deal with it. We're just not quite there yet, because we still need the game to happen in order to have fans. Yeah. So again, going back to what I had said earlier, 1 week at a time, 1 step at a time. And if I have anything to do with it or have any say in it, I would like to have fans in the stands, but also as long as it's meeting the guidelines that are set forth by our governor's office of Pennsylvania.
From the media's perspective, and with that 250 number, like you said, you've got the players on the home team, the players on the away team, the coaching staff, and essential game workers. From the media's perspective, the media plays such a big role in the games, because that's how schools get their names out there. The athletes like to see their name on the website, on Twitter, and wherever else the media posts about the games and the highlights. So from a media's perspective, how do you think they're going to be able to still be a part of the sports? Are they going to be allowed in? Do you know anything about that?
Those types of decisions definitively have not been made yet. I know there is some talk with some local media outlets to be able to help cover games. And if we don't have fans in the stands, as you can imagine, that would become pretty critical so that you can still watch. It would just be in a virtual setting versus on site. So I think those conversations have happened. That type of decision hasn't been made, and we're not there yet. Again, we need to play first before we can make those determinations. So I think the media is going to play a critical role just simply to get the information out, get the results out, get some live footage out there, goals being scored and those types of things. So they're going to play a role. What it might look like, I don't know. If they could just use one camera at a football game versus a whole entire staff, it's going to look different. But
Yeah.
maybe they could split up their crews. I'm talking TV now, TV media outlets, split up their crews and be able to cover more teams if they're able to do that. But I don't know. That's not my area,
Yeah. But the media, I just hope that the media is involved because, like I said, the kids they love to see their name on the website. They like to see, the local media outlets giving them the highlights and everything. And I just think it'll be a big miss if the media is allowed inside.
You know what, Joey? This is what I can tell you. Any talk about media not being present was never a discussion. So I don't foresee that happening, if that helps.
That's good to hear.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
I want to see you at games.
I want to be
really, really nice job.
Thank you. So next, this question kind of involves me as well. I'm the manager for the football team at Emmaus, for anyone who doesn't know that. And so far, the managers haven't been allowed at the practice site for any sport, football or any fall sports. Do you see the managers being allowed to come in as we get closer to the game weeks and the practices? And, if they are allowed, will they only be allowed at the practice and not the game, or vice versa?
I'll take your case, for example. I think you're more of an essential type of individual in a game setting as a manager versus an essential individual that needs to be out of practice. Again, this is not etched in stone by any stretch of the imagination, and this is another conversation for down the road as we approach games. If I were to take a manager of another field sport like soccer or field hockey and those sorts of things, we need those managers to run the clock and keep the time and those sorts of things. But again, that would be a game situation where they would be considered essential in my mind versus a practice. So I do see some of the managers helping out once competition resumes. I would not say it's going to happen for practice.
Okay. The next question is about our new stadium. I know we touched base a little bit with the new turf field earlier on, but this one goes about other sports teams that might be allowed to play at the field. I know in my article I wrote for a few weeks ago, I said that there are rumors that soccer could be played on their field. Hockey, you know what's going to be played on the field because you designed it and you were able to put in what you want on the field. So what other sports besides football will be played at the stadium, if any?
Yeah, so the white lines are the football lines. I'm probably going to mess this up. I believe like a dark orange color, I believe, is soccer, or dark yellow is soccer. I'm going to mess that one up. And then the other one is lacrosse. So we have boys and girls lacrosse down there as well. So that's who can play down there. Other teams can practice down there. You can have baseball out there practicing. You can put softball out there to practice. Field hockey will be down there to practice. So there's a lot of teams that are going to be able to utilize that facility in a whole. But as far as games, I anticipate JV games being played down there, varsity up on Memorial Field, because that field is naturally a bigger, more regulation-sized soccer field. That's what I envision that field, how that field's going to be utilized.
The Memorial Field will still be the site for the actual games for varsity soccer and so on for those sports as well.
Yeah, if you look, Joey, next time you're up there, take a look at the dimensions from sideline to sideline, not end zone to end zone, but sideline to sideline, the Memorial Turf Field is much wider, and it plays a different game than if you were to play a soccer field down at the stadium. It's much narrower, and for those who know the sport, it plays a lot different on those different dimensions of a field.
Yeah, I know for covering a couple games, it is very wider. I do remember that now, but I just couldn't, since I haven't been down on the new turf field yet, I wasn't sure what would be going on down there. But it's good to know that we'll still be utilizing both the new stadium turf field and Memorial Field as well.
Yeah, Joey, I think it's important to maximize the use of a facility for the amount of money that goes into a facility like that. You want to get the most use out of it, and that's what turf fields allow you to do. We're allowed to go down there and play games after game after game, day after day. We could hold tournaments there. You were not able to do that on a grass facility. So that as far as the facility standpoint, when you had the grass, was being underutilized, and the turf changes that dynamic immensely.
Do you think, this is kind of a rebound question here, do you think that if we get playoffs for any type of sport, the use of a neutral field for like the football playoffs, and Emmaus was never considered before as a place for a neutral field because it was grass and it wasn't a good location, but now that we're putting in the turf field, do you think that the District 11 will start to look at Emmaus as a potential neutral spot for the playoffs?
Yeah, my intention would be to put in a bid to be a host site. Without question, we would be able to. We now become a player in playoffs for football and other sports.
It's good to hear. Good to hear, because the more games that come into Emmaus, the more people we get here. It just brings more and more exciting, thing, and Emmaus's name gets out more because we'll be able to keep our stadium open past football once Emmaus football is not allowed to play there anymore if they move on or if their season comes to an end. So it's good, like you said, good usage of the space that we have.
Yeah, well, keep in mind too, even if we are fortunate enough to be in playoffs, we can still host other games too, because you have Saturday night games and you have Sunday games. Or I'm sorry, you have Friday night games and Saturday night games as well.
Correct. So my last question here kind of relates to what you could look forward to in the upcoming sports seasons as well. I know I've kind of touched base on this before, but in your first 2 seasons at Emmaus, you'll be entering your third this upcoming academic year, but in your first 2 seasons, football has gone 16-8 and has played in a district championship game. Lacrosse has beat rival Parkland in the district championship game, boys lacrosse, and field hockey has achieved their 30th and 31st consecutive district title in your first 2 seasons, and the list goes on of success at Emmaus high school sports. But this upcoming school year and all the sports involved, what are you looking forward to? What teams at Emmaus should everyone keep an eye on? And just what could happen this year for Emmaus sports?
As you know, with anything and everything that has gone on since March, things change, and things change on a dime. What I would like to tell all of our student athletes is to relish every moment from this point on. You don't know, and I don't know, and I don't have the crystal ball, and I wish I did. I wish I did have a crystal ball as to what the future holds. And I don't mean, we're not talking long-term future. We're talking immediate future. Like, there's things that could happen this week. There's another PIAA meeting on Wednesday, followed up by an EPC meeting on Thursday. And, anything can happen. There's, we see what's going on in other states, what's going to happen when we go back to school and what that's going to look like. There's just so many unknowns. And all I can say to our student athletes is, I want to see you out on the field. That's what I look forward to. It has changed. It has changed. Championships are no longer the priority for this year. If we get to compete and play in a game and play games and be competitive again against other schools, take those moments and run with it and enjoy every chance you get. There may be a time when we're back into that March setting where you're not around your teammates anymore. That could happen. I mean, that's a reality that is still out there that we may face. And I hope every single day that doesn't happen and we don't go back to that time. But if we do, you just don't know. So the kids and the student athletes and the coaches who are putting all this time in now and being around your buddies and your friends, I think is so important and so healthy mentally and physically. And even I don't know how people feel right now, because I'm not playing during this time.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that as I could imagine that, back in the day, we got to go to practice. Got to go to practice. I don't know. Me now, I'd be wanting to go to practice and want to be around that atmosphere. So I'm hoping the student athletes are feeling the same way and are enjoying this time. And I hope it continues. And we're talking about this months down the road, where we're talking about wins and losses and those sorts of things.
I do as well. I know I've talked to several student athletes that go to Emmaus and other schools around District 11 that I know as well. And I kind of took a poll, if you will, and I said, would you rather just play and, play without fans and you still get to play the season and, compete against one another and everything like that? And so they all said yes. They said they just want to play, they miss being out there as a team and everything like that. So I think, to answer how you said you don't know how everyone else is feeling, I think they want to play as well, just as much as you want to see them play.
Well, that's great feedback, because that's why we're doing this. And as far as I can control anything, we're going to do everything we can to have competitions this fall.
I just want to ask one last thing here. I know I said it was my last question before, but I just thought of something else here.
Sounds like you, Joey. That sounds like you.
Right. I never want to end an interview. I always want to keep it going. Football being such a contact type sport, and, lacrosse being contact as well. And also soccer, kind of every sport is contact, basically, just to sum it up here. How does, games stay safe? Because, wrestling, you're all over rolling around, and, football, you've got the tackling, and soccer, the slide tackles, and basketball, there's fouling where you're accidentally hitting one another. And so how do we stay safe in a game format with such high contact sports?
Well, I think it's the constant evaluation and reevaluation. I wish we could test like the pros are testing and the college athletes are testing. We just don't have those means available. Mm-hmm. But the best we can do, and the next best thing, is the screenings that we do every single day. And as long as the kids are being honest and truthful and, abide by those travel restrictions as well, and doing all the right things, that's the best way to combat this and be safe given our circumstances that we don't have tests available. And minimizing the contact as often as possible, So when we're in competitions, the guys and gals that'll be on the sidelines are going to have face masks on, and they're going to be apart from each other, so that, you're minimizing the contact to just what's going to happen during normal competition on a field. There are a lot of not safety protocols, but how should I say it? Measures being taken, sport by sport, modifications that are going to be made prior to competition. So, for example, I know the PIAA has put out some information that we can, as school districts, then utilize, which would include, what the captain's meeting at the beginning of the game looks like. It's not going to look the same. Those sorts of things, little things here and there throughout a competition, and that varies sport by sport, obviously, because they're all different. But there are other measures that are being taken to ensure the safety of the players, the coaches, the officials, all the workers that are involved, in those sorts of things. So a lot of time and effort and thought is being put into those sorts of things.
All right. That was a very, very informative interview. Thanks for giving your input and answering my questions. And, like you and I both agree here, we just want to see sports back out and see the kids playing.
Yeah.
It was great to talk to you, Mrs. George.
Thanks, Joey. You did an outstanding job.
Thank you. You too.
You represented D11 very well.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
I will. All right. Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.